So guys, when we talk about IaaS or infrastructure as a service, it's one of the service which is given by Azure or other particular vendors which are there in the market, like Amazon. Amazon being the first and the oldest cloud vendor provider in the market had dominated the IaaS market like hell. So let's go and peep into it. What exactly is IaaS and infrastructure as a service means what we are getting served. Infrastructure, the whole infrastructure we get as a service, or a complete box or a VM or a desktop we get as a service. And we just use that particular service and uh, just pay what we use. So let's get started. So here you can see like you can see like every data centers, whether it's hosted by Amazon or Azure, it's equivalent to a single soccer stadium. Okay, and this soccer stadium would be having a large, huge number of containers. These are you can say it as a shipping container, and these shipping containers would be having would be having huge number of host servers, around 1,000 to 10,000 host servers. In certain cases, it crosses 30,000 host servers, and this host servers are mentioned. Containers having the host servers, which are mentioned in the blue color, and the host server is nothing but it can be your at home. If you are considering you have a desktop at home, then it can be your host server. And when you have a desktop at home, and on top of this desktop, using certain virtualization techniques like the using certain hub virtualization softwares like Hyper-V or VMware, you could host more than one OS in a particular host server. So your host server would be having can have any kind of operating system. Either it can be a Windows OS, Windows operating system, Win 7, or it can be running with a Linux. And on basic on top of it, you can install more OS in it on the same host server or on your desktop. So you'll be using either of the virtualization technique like Hyper-V here from Microsoft Windows. So Hyper-V will be taking and on top of that you'll be hosting a lot of OSs on top of it. It can be a Windows OS, Win 10 OS on top of Win 7, or it can be a Linux or Solaris or Oracle. So in the same scenarios, when we consider the bigger data center like an Azure data center, so these all are the containers having the host servers, and the host servers contains Hyper-V installed on it, and this particular host server operating system was uh, before till before 5 years, the OS was the same as we were using a raw OS, but now the Azure had made a customized the Windows OS for in order to get adaptability with the complete data center traffic incoming and the mechanisms which happens inside the data center. So now the host server have a specific Windows Azure OS, you can say. On top of that, they'll be having with a Hyper-V, and on top of that, we have various VMs on top of it. Means we'll be having various installed OSs. Okay, it can be WinOS with Oracle softwares, or it can be VM2, can be a Linux or Windows OS, Windows Win 7 OS or Win 10 OS with Apache server installed on it. It can be depends upon the various demand on the market, whatever market demands, those things will be there. So this particular complete data center would be run or run a controlled, or the calls, the allocation of host servers, which host server should have which particular VMs or something, would be controlled by Fabric controller, which we will be talking about in the later videos. We'll talk in depth about how exactly the flow happens, or the Fabric controller plays a role in managing the whole data center. Let's go to the next slide. So as we talked about, like the DC have when the DC have containers have host servers have Hyper-V and the VMs on top of it. So what happens whenever user comes, right? he just says that I want a VM1, or he just says that I want a Oracle VM. Okay, that so Fabric Controller will go and search about where is Oracle VM inserted and what particular region a customer is selecting. So basing upon the customer region he selects, the call goes to that particular DC. Okay, and then the VM would be, if it is installed in the VM2, that VM2 would be set up completely with that user credentials. Whoever the user would, having the right subscription would subscribe, then he will get this access to the VM2. Then he can RDP into it and he can install his application and use it as he wants. So what happens internally when we make a call to get a VM, to fetch a VM, or to when we get a VM, and the VM process, getting the VM process is like happens in within a seconds. So give me a minute. Happens within a seconds. So we talked about, when I say that host server has, so there's a host server, or the you can say as a guest OS. So the guest OS is installed with the Windows 7, or now it is specific Windows Azure OS. So this particular specific Windows Azure OS will have certain drivers, okay, and then the VM1s, VMs1s, VM2, and till the VM and the capacity of that particular host server it holds will have local disks. Once they have these local disk and drivers, how they play important role is like these VMs are there. These VMs like doesn't store their data on this particular local guest OS or the host server, as happens in the as happens in the as happens when we set up our desktop or our laptop with Hyper-V, and we host VMs on top of it. So it takes certain memories from your C drive, which means that it keeps its OS files in your C drive or the selected drives which you put onto it. So but here the VM have its drives onto the onto so have its local drive, local disk would be there, and the local disk would be cached, or the actual data would be stored in Azure storage or the respective Azure storage. And this Azure storage can be at a different region itself, or it can be or it can be in the same region. So making your compute power like VMs and Azure storage at one place makes the traffic in the data center low. If you keep your VMs, the compute power, and the Azure storage where exactly your data is written, it's far away place, then the performance may hit. But Azure has so good express internet connectivity that the the performance inside this never decreases, even if your compute power is in India and your Azure storage is somewhere in US. So what happens is, whenever the data which would be stored or written, or the image of this particular VM would be would be stored in the format of VHDs and Azure storage. And these VHDs, each VM, like VM1 is there, it has its local disk, and the data which would be written and would be formatted into VHD format. And these VHDs are replicated into replicated or copied into three pieces. So and then three pieces are aligned up or copied to three different regions, or three different DCs, or three different nodes, or three different rack servers, where the host server, one copy can be at the host server and the other copies can be at the two different DCs on two different tracks. I'll be showing about what exactly a rack server, and where exactly this host server sits. So just remember once, like this, what are the three copies of VHDs? VHDs we have three copies of it. It depends upon the user where he want to place them, and I'll be showing them in Windows Issue Portal how or where we can store them. And this Azure storage is also accessible via many calls or many methods. and these are they are REST APIs and endpoint. That there's a public endpoints which is exposed, like the REST APIs which are exposed, so that you partial can consume, or the REST APIs you can consume these VHDs. You can copy these VHDs from one location to another location. Like if you want to move this VM1 from Indian DC and the DC in India to DC in Switzerland. So what you will do is, it's easy that you just pick up a VHD from your storage account using Cloud Explorer, using Storage Explorer. Copy with Storage Explorer. VHD is again a file, okay, and this is stored in Azure storage. And the specific kind of Azure storage container which we have is a blob. So blob is nothing but binary large objects. So blob can store unrelational data, or it can store any kind of data. It can be images, videos, or .vhd formats itself. So when you want to move your VM from one location to the another location, it's very easy. You just take up this VHD. You can make you can make a call via partial and copy this particular VHD from this location to the destination location, and that's it. Once the VHD is raised into the destination location, you can boot up from that VHD, or you can go to the management portal, which is the single dashboard for accessing Azure resources. I'll show that. Let it open. Let me show you that. Which is single dashboard for accessing Azure resources, and you can just take your VHD into the new location and boot up from that place. It doesn't need to be constricted of a specific reason. Hope that helps. And let us go and check out what exactly manage.windows Azure. You can check that. You can see that this is manage.windowsazure.com, and this is Azure AD which I created. Azure AD, we'll talk about it later. So here are the resources. Here, this is the older portal, manage.windowsazure.com, and the new portal is called as portal.azure.com. Let it open. So when we say about, like, I want a virtual machine, you just go here, you create a virtual machine. You can you can get you can see this. You can see this. I said you about it's about compute power, and this is storage. You can see this is a compute. Under compute services we have virtual machines, and we can quick create with any name, or we can go to the gallery and pick up whatever we want. Like if you want a Windows Azure server, we have various options. We can have a SharePoint server, SQL server, this stock and everything. This is, you can say, as a marketplace. When I say about, you'll be taking out your VHDs from one location to another. At that time, you'll be seeing the VHDs, the images here in this location, and you just select this image and bring out in your location. So let's go and create a plain Windows server. So let's create a Windows server 2012 R2 data center. I'll be creating release date, virtual machine name. That's there, Azure guy. So we'll take a basic for a demo purpose. So you can see the various sizes of RAM which is available, or the core machine, or the compute capacity which is available here. So it's varies from A0 to A4. So you can see